I was born in France, and my father was, at the time when he met my mother, he was an investigator of war crimes after the Second World War, and my mother was in the Free French, and that's how they met, and then ultimately they had me. I grew up in a household with, let's say, older, older people, you know, so all my thinking has been established thinking, people that have been around and seen things. So I think I was very fortunate right from the beginning, even as a little child, that there was always experience that was teaching me things. When I had to give my little speech at the Holocaust Remembrance, I gave my mother's eulogy and all the things that I remember about my mother and all the stories she told about what went on. So one day when I don't know what struck me, my father already passed away, and I said to my wife, I said, tonight I want to talk about my mother. And my wife walked up to me, she said to me, I've never been more proud of you in my life after that lady said that, because I really was giving my mother the honor she was due. And I was working in a drugstore. I was about 18, 19 years old in a drugstore. And they said to me, where are you going to go this year? I said, I have no idea. I said, I'm still thinking about it. And the owner of the store said to me, why don't you go to Russia? I said, what do you want me to go to Russia for? He says, well, the Jewish people were being persecuted at the time. He said they were having a very difficult time, and we would like to send some money. So I said, sure, that doesn't sound like something I wouldn't do. I said, I'll do it. I'm wearing the American flag on my chest, and I go up to the top of the steps, and I'm telling my friend who's got his Kodak camera, take my picture so everybody can see that I got here, so now they know I'm going to give the money. And as I'm on top of the steps, this older man, a little short guy with a big beard, walks out with his yarmulke on and tries to push me off the steps. He's telling me basically in Russian, get away, get away, get away. And I'm looking at him saying, American, American, like look at my flag. Who's going to wear this thing? American. Nobody in Russia has an American flag on their chest. Look, American, American. And he's pushing me and pushing me. Finally, I stuck my hand in my pocket and I pulled out some of the money. And he looked at the money, he said, ah, American, like that. I met my wife when I was 22 because, like I said, I did a lot of stuff way before that. So I was a little bit more mature than a 22-year-old baby. And we fell in love, you know, pretty soon, right away. You know, let's put it that way, right away. You know, there's always somebody out there that's your perfect match, and I was lucky. I found my perfect match when I was very young. I was about 23, and my wife was 22 when we got married, and she knew that my dream was to own my own business. So she decided that it was time for us to open up our own business. So we went out and we looked for a location to open up a drugstore. And there was some reason why I had to be in South Orange. So we found an empty store on Scotland Road, which was a furrier shop that just went out of business. It was all painted black. The whole inside of the store was black and it was small, but it had wonderful parking. And we called the prescription counter and we opened up the drugstore. Now, she was a registered nurse at the time, and she decided that she wanted to work with me, so she quit being a registered nurse, and she came to work for me. She used to take the deliveries, blood pressure, help with the prescriptions, everything. And we started basically with an empty store with no money, and we worked our way through struggling with hamburgers and whatever for 2 years and became fairly successful. And the rest is history for South Orange, because there was some reason why I had to be in South Orange. So we found an empty store on Scotland Road, which was a furrier shop that just went out of business. It was all painted black. The whole inside of the store was black and it was small, but it had wonderful parking. And we called the prescription counter and we opened up the drugstore. Now, she was a registered nurse at the time, and she decided that she wanted to work with me, so she quit being a registered nurse, and she came to work for me. She used to take the deliveries, blood pressure, help with the prescriptions, everything. And we started basically with an empty store with no money, and we worked our way through struggling with hamburgers and whatever for 2 years and became fairly successful. And the rest is history for South Orange, because we were trying to have children. And my wife kept on having miscarriages, which we never knew why she kept on having, but she kept on having all these miscarriages. And one time she had a particularly bad miscarriage, and she was very depressed over it. And at the same time, there was the former mayor of South Orange, village president. His name was Bert Spiota. And he came into the drugstore just about this time, and he said to me, Bill, he says, I'm running for re-election as the village president, and there's a big controversy in town. He wanted to build a senior citizen building, the one that's close to Seton Hall, 219 South Orange Avenue by the park. And the opposition was horrendous. People did not want this building built because they thought it would only bring in derelicts and low-end people into South Orange, and they didn't want that to happen. They were very upset with Bert. And Bert said to me, Bill, please, I need somebody to run with me as a trustee, so maybe you could help bring some votes so I could get elected and we could get this building built. So I asked my wife, and she thought it would be a great opportunity for us to move on, you know, to get over, like I said, the last miscarriage. And I said, okay, let's do it. So, in fact, I went back and I adopted 2 children in Russia when it wasn't communist anymore. I went back when my wife said to me the same thing. She says, what do you want to go to get the kids from Russia for? I said, because I know it's a highly educated society. They appreciate the arts. And that's why I want to do it. And we did. And I'm very fortunate. I have 2 wonderful children. And the election took place, and Mr. Spiota lost the election. Everybody lost because the people who didn't want that building built. On election night, they told me I lost too, and I should go home. I went home. I was home for about a half hour, and I got a phone call. Bill, come back. You're the highest vote getter in the town. You know, you won, but everybody else on the ticket lost. And when he passed away, I named a park for him in South Orange, you know, in his honor, because if he didn't get me to run on that ticket, they would never had that senior building. So the town owed him a lot, because that's what he really wanted, to build that senior building. Running for village president, and the fellow I was running against was a very highly intelligent man, very nice, a lot of charisma, young fella, younger than me. And actually he was on my ticket, and he decided he wanted to run against me. But he questioned my leadership ability. You know, that was one of his things. He said, Bill's a really nice guy, everybody loves him, but is he really a good leader for this community? So I told a story about how when I grew up in Newark, in that candy store at the end of the corner. Like I said, I used to throw the 2 or 3 cents out the window. I used to catch the 2 or 3 cents. And then I would have to walk to the drugstore. But to get to this little candy store or drugstore, whatever it was at the time, I had to get through people that wanted to steal my 2 or 3 cents. So every day, somebody used to try to, in that type of terminology, shake me down for my money. Always. But I would never give them my money. So I used to get in fights all the time. And then I used to get to the candy store. So as I told the story, I said, and you know what happened because all these other little kids used to watch me get beat up and all this other stuff, but I would never give up my money? They all decided to go to the candy store with me. So if they had to go, they would wait for me to be walking down the street. Then all the good little kids used to come running out, say, Bill, we're coming with you. Billy, we're coming with you. Because they knew I wasn't going to give up my money, and I wouldn't let anybody take the money from them. And I developed the thing. So the point of the story I was trying to emphasize is that you don't have to be the toughest, the smartest, but you lead by ability and example. And I gave the example that if you follow me, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to protect you. You lead by example. You try to show people the right way to do things, and you don't quit on your friends, and you're loyal. You know, and these are the type of things that I learned from an early age, and that's why I think I was a fairly good village president, and that's how I got into leadership abilities. Like I said, captains of baseball teams and president of the student body at Rutgers and all this other stuff, because then people knew if I was their leader, I was protecting them, and you know, at my own expense. My wife used to get mad at me. She used to say, why do you do that? Why? This person here called you names. They don't like you, and you still go out of your way and help them. I said, because that's what I'm supposed to do. I told right in the beginning that South Orange became South Orange on March 25th, 1869. Now, I was born on March 25th. The reason why I didn't have to choose here. I liked Westfield. I liked Montclair. But for some reason, I was driven. I had to be in South Orange. I buried my wife on Monday. And on Wednesday, we had a meeting because all the bids were coming in on the Art Center. So I went to the meeting. And like I said, I was still a little bit out there because I just buried my wife. And everything came in too expensive. We couldn't afford to build the Art Center. After all the years that we put into it, it was just too expensive, and I couldn't build the theater that we wanted to build. So I looked at everybody, and I said, okay, let's start all over again. And they looked at me, well, what do you mean we're going to start all over again? I said, well, is there a way we can do this? And I had a volunteer at the table who ultimately became the architect of the building. And he said to me, Bill, my company could do a design build. Now, he was a volunteer. He was part of the committee to get this built. Cum gratis, like everybody in this town. This was a wonderful town. Like I said, people came out of the woodwork to help me. And I said, well, tell me what it's going to cost. Give me an idea. And from that day on, we started to design, build the theater. We took all the good elements from the theater that we wanted to build. We combined it, and we ended up building the theater in a very short period of time, and it got built. And like I said, it was all volunteers that helped me during the whole process. And there was one gentleman in particular, and I always like to mention his name, Dave Bresson. We built the theater, And then, it got tougher and tougher with the politics, and my heart really wasn't in running the government much anymore because I had to take care. Well, because I had two young kids. My wife died, they were 7 and 8 years old, you know. I had a business that was one of the top 100 in the country, I was busy as anything. And the opposition started to get overwhelming. Supermarket, they needed a supermarket, they wanted a supermarket. That I was really looking very hard to get a nice supermarket that would be appropriate for our community and what we needed to make South Orange the top community again. Like I said, my goal was to make South Orange the best community in the country, not just in the state, in the country. And we had a very prominent supermarket chain come to us, and they wanted that location. So we spent about a year in discussions to get this particular supermarket in, and finally they agreed they wanted to come to South Orange. So they asked for a meeting so we could sign the contract. And we went to the town hall, and I think, wow, this is going to be like the centerpiece. Everybody's going to respect us because we have this wonderful supermarket right here in the middle of South Orange. And we sit down at the table, and the head guy takes a piece of paper, puts it out in front of me, draws a big circle, and he goes to me, Mr. Calabrese, Newark, East Orange, Orange, Irvington, Maplewood, South Orange. We don't like your demographics. We're not going to come now. And I sat there and my mouth was dropped. Like, now you're telling me you don't want to come here because you don't like my demographics, meaning he doesn't like the community. Guess what? I said, what happened? He goes, they called us back. I said, who called us back? The original supermarket. They changed their mind. They want to come to South Orange. I said, great. I said, set up a meeting. Well, let's talk to them. Maybe we'll get something worked out. They come. They sit all around the table, all their vice presidents, me, my secretary, my administrator, and our lawyer for the town. I said, Ed, give me a piece of paper. Ed Matthews was the attorney at the time. I said, Ed, give me a piece of paper. He gives me a paper. I put it on the table. I said, I drew a big circle. I said, Newark, East Orange, like this, just like he did to me. I said, I don't want your company in my town, just like that. Just like I said, I don't want your company in my town. The meeting is over. And we walked away because they didn't respect South Orange. They knew they could make money here, but they did not respect the community and the people they had to deal with. And the Toys R Us, they have all the toys in the world and they want another toy because, there was no satisfying, you know what I mean? How much more could you want? You had a South Orange area narrowed, you had a beautiful theater, you had Seton Hall University became a resident university rather than a community college. All this changed. We changed the whole face of South Orange. But the supermarket became the most important thing, And ultimately we got lucky and we got a nice developer brought us the supermarket, and which was Eden Gourmet at the time, and the beautiful apartment house. I lost that last election because the town turned over on me. It was like 60% different. From one election to the other election, 60% of the voting population changed in South Orange. A friend tells the story, and nobody even believes it, that there were stores that got robbed 4 or 5 times a year because, there was bad. I closed down streets. You go by Seton Hall, you see the barricades on the streets, you see the gates. That was all part of the isolating us from the criminal. Because if you can't get out of a community, you don't commit a crime there. So I try to cut all the access roads down. So if you're going to commit a crime in South Orange, you had to either use the main arteries, and that's the way we can catch you. So the criminal knew, don't commit a crime in South Orange. We went from 1,300 cars stolen a year to like 28 when I left office. You had to build up the morale of the community, make people proud. And that's why they all were on the bandwagon to help, because they all felt proud, like they were all part of it. I made everybody feel like they were part of the salvation of South Orange. That's why we had so many volunteers. All I had to do is say, we need to do this. Boom, we had volunteers. We need to do that. Boom, we had volunteers. The goal to make South Orange great. So it was a wonderful time. Nobody even knows. If you were part of it, you knew what it was like. But it was a wonderful time to be a human being in South Orange. The New York Times was making fun of me. They said I couldn't save South Orange. They said, once the community is gone, you can never bring it back. I never got an apology from the New York Times. I was back to work because my main goal was to take care of my kids, because, they were entering high school by this time. And I was afraid, my wife would come out of the grave and choke me to death. So I decided to stay home, so I became Mr. Mom. And I used to drive my daughter to one school, my son to another school, go pick her up in the afternoon, bring him back. Where are you at 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night? You know, just tell me where you are, you know, that type of thing. You know, I became Mr. Mom. So I would always be here. So they would always find me. They always know there was stability, you know, because I was the only one. They didn't have a mother. So, and like I said, I have no regrets. You know, that was the right thing to do, and I did what I had to do. So, like I said, I think God plays a big role in it because, like I said, I never anticipated ever losing an election. But what I lost is like a light came in my head and said, I don't need any of this stuff. I have enough money. I have this. I did this. Now the most important thing is my two kids, and that's what I did. B'nai B'rith was very nice because that came with the construction of the senior citizen building on Vos Avenue. You know which one on Vos Avenue? Because that was another hard one to get accomplished. And during the course of the 20 years or so, I used to get a lot of things people used to give to me. You know what I mean? And I don't keep too many of them around because, you know, to me, it's only things that I should have did. But I always loved this little thing that they gave me from the B'nai B'rith, and it says, good people do good things. And to me, that was a perfect expression of the way I like to live my life. You know, just try to do the right thing for most people, and you're rewarded. So good people do good things. And he wanted to be, you know, on that same train. And you can see what happened at Seton Hall, right? Like it was a sleepy commuter college for up until I guess into the late 80s, you know. And now it's a main residential college campus, right? It changed tremendously. In fact, I dedicated the library, the Jubilee building, you know, because if I didn't give the approvals on all those things, they would never got built. But in my mind, I needed it. Seton Hall was a wonderful asset for the community. Whatever made Seton Hall better made me better in South Orange. And he put all these people around me at the same time. They didn't have to be here. If they weren't here, nothing would have got done either. But he put all these wonderful people in this community at the same time. And they all contributed. They all made South Orange what it is today. People who were my enemies at one time became my best friends. All because we all had the same goal in mind. Make South Orange special. So that's why I look at it. I think South Orange is a very special community. I mean, wherever I go, I tell people I'm from South Orange, and I always have to smile on my face like, you know what South Orange is like. It's not like where you live. This is special, this town. Well, sometimes I go through the community, I'm a little sad because we didn't accomplish everything I wanted to. But then I turn my head and I say, well, look all we accomplished. And when you see people like, when I walk, I say hello to everybody. I mean, I'm walking, I nod to everybody. I say, good morning, you know, what color, no matter what color you are, black, white, whatever. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And that's the community I always wanted. I always used to give that speech. I used to say, someday you'll be walking the streets of South Orange and everybody will be your neighbor and you'll say hello to them.